Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steve, otherwise known as Pin. I hope you're doing well. Today I would like to talk to you about the Kraken by Drake Interplanetary. Now this ship is so big and so cool looking. I would love to own one of these. It is without a doubt one of the most famous ships, you could say, throughout the verse. Highly anticipated for good reason. It is a weapon. It is a weapon. I absolutely adore the look of this thing, and hopefully one day I will own one and become a Kraken master, because this thing is great. There's a lot of features that we're going to go over. We're going to try and go over some of the components. We'll go over the weaponry. We will talk about cargo. We'll talk about particular scenarios that I've dreamt up, how I would use it, how an orc could use it. There's a lot to discuss. The video was originally 40 minutes, so I had to trim it right down because I just went off on so many tangents. This video would have been way too long. So we're going to do our best to sort of keep it informed, yet tidy. That's my goal here. So we're going to try and do our best. But certainly a ship, I think, if you own one, you're very lucky to own one. I'm very jealous if you own one. So we will discuss the Kraken today and everything I love about it, and the next video will more than likely be about the Idris, so stay tuned for that. So there's a lot to talk about, as I said. So let's begin our little journey with the Drake Kraken. So let's start with the obvious, okay? So this ship is classified as a light carrier. It can carry 4 light ships and 2 medium, okay? Not to mention a further 2 in the hangars located in the hull itself. Plenty of engines at the back, so it's gonna need it, right? The massive engines at the back just to get itself through the space. I imagine this thing must weigh quite a substantial amount. Its atmospheric, its flight performance in atmosphere has been described as being poor. If you've flown the Reclaimer in atmosphere, you'll know what I'm talking about. That thing is painfully slow, and I would imagine this ship is very similar to that. It does have the ability to land planet side. Okay, it does have some VTOL thrusters. It has 2 on the winglets that you can see here, which those winglets also double up as docking collars, which I just think is an excellent touch because they become catwalks. I really like that. That's a really clever design aspect of this ship. Not to mention it makes it look super cool as well. So Drake Interplanetary, always affiliated with piracy, you know. So they sort of built this ship to offer protection to the civilian market for things like fighting pirates. Which I can see why they did it. I see the reasoning that they did it. It's definitely the most ambitious ship that Drake have constructed. To try and combat that image of being associated with piracy. Okay? However, I hope, I should say, that we have the ability to change the paint scheme on this, because the sort of grey metallic mixed with that rusty brown burgundy coloured sort of colour, to me, screams piracy, right? If you look at the colour scheme of the ship, it screams piracy in my mind. Now, if they wanted to change the image, I can imagine, okay, if I was to change the colour of this ship, I would like to have the same sort of colour of the cutty blue. So instead of this burgundy brownish rusty colour, we change that with a cutty blue colour, then all of a sudden it doesn't look so piratey. So hopefully we can do that in the future. That could be poignant to an organisation that doesn't want to be associated with piracy. So that's something that I would like to see. Right, now let's move on to what the actual brochure says. We threw out the rulebook to redefine private use capital class ships, attack carriers, and the very nature of personal freedom, with the comfortable habs for a full crew, mammoth cargo capacity, and enough armament to blow even the most daunting frigate out of the sky. This self-sustaining flying fortress is the most ambitious project Drake has ever undertaken, and a testament to the empowerment of the people. Strong statement. Can't really disagree. Power to the people. Our designers tapped into the same intensive consumer outreach practices that conceived the Vulture and pulled forth unyielding spirit of protection. The Kraken is the result. We got to the heart of what the hard-working folks of the UEE want from a capital-class ship, inspired by these people. The Kraken's adaptability mirrors the diversity of the Empire. Attack carrier. First and foremost, the Kraken is a protector and a beacon of freedom in a too often cruel universe. For those tasked with safekeeping citizens unable to protect themselves, the Kraken is both a sanctuary and a self-contained war machine, ready to take the most daunting adversaries. Heavy lifter. With the Kraken able to provide ample protection, precious cargo has no problem reaching its final destination intact. It's the ideal base of operations for a fleet of data running heralds or a mobile warehouse. To load up a trusty cutlass, did we mention the storage capacity is through the roof? Whatever your business, you'll find the Kraken a functional, comfortable and secure base of operations. I like that idea of having heralds on board and data running with a Kraken. That's really cool. And to add to that, okay, what if we don't have all these light fighters and medium fighters on board? What if we turn the Kraken into like a mobile utility ship, right? Oh, here we go. Brain box is going. Let's imagine that we have some Vulcans on board, some prospectors on board, and some vultures on board. Then all of a sudden, we've gone from a light carrier with a very long fighting capability with the light fighters and medium to a complete utility ship, okay? A money-making ship. That could be really cool and really interesting, along with the heralds, you know. That's cool. I like that idea. I like the flexibility. You know, there's no one says you have to have fighters on board. Could be risky. Obviously, there'd be risks involved by not having a fighter wing on your ship. But you could negate that. Maybe have 1 or 2 fighters and some utility vehicles. I don't think now that I think about it, the Vulcan would be all too important because there is an onboard repair and rearm station in the ship. But I like that idea. One day we could be a patrol vessel with multiple ships, fighting ships on board. And another day you could take the ship out with your org and strip everything clean with the various utility ships. Just an idea, but I like the freedom that this ship offers. So that's really cool. Okay, let's move on before I start going down my little streams of tangents. Juggernaut of the industry. You might have started with a single vulture, but now business is booming. Why waste time, fuel and credits on endless planetside drops when you can bring your HQ with you? With space for an armada of salvage and security ships, along with a mini fleet of dragonflies, you can keep working longer and safer. That's just good business. That's cool. I like that. Especially with the mini fleet of dragonflies. I think they'll be useful. I will explain later before I go on another tangent. The way I look at this ship is it's got so many possibilities. It's like a very fast, bigger, more well-armed Port Olisar on steroids, right? It's essentially a mini space station. Very cool. Very cool. Casing the Kraken. So here we can see a blueprint schematic of what's inside the ship, the sort of very basic look of what we have here. Really cool. Okay, one thing that jumps out to me as well is I love that double stacked bridge. I think that looks awesome. Very reminiscent of modern day carriers. So we have a Dragonfly Bay as well. Plenty of cargo space. The cargo hold is actually split into 4 separate compartments. Well, I think there's a tram system in there as well, which will be useful, which gives us a total of 3,792 SCU. So quite a gargantuan cargo hold there, along with a Dragonfly bay, which is awesome, and of course the 2 hangars for ships. The Kraken has 6 versatile landing pads to support a varying fleet of ships. 4 smaller pads suit fighter-sized ships such as the Buccaneer, while the 2 upper pads support larger vessels like the Cutlass. The ship's varied functionality means the Kraken can support ships for the duration of almost any journey. To the pilots in your fleet, the Kraken will become a welcome home away from home. Now, I believe the accommodation for your pilots is enough to fit 2 crew members, I think. So it will be quite tight, and the accommodation is very basic. It's like a bed and a washroom, and that's pretty much it. Maybe a locker. So very not the most comfortable living space, I would imagine. Hangars. Deep in the belly of the Kraken lies a spacious multi-purpose hangar. Keep your orc topped with fuel and supplies. Spring serious firepower on unsuspecting interlopers and keep your fleet ready to roll at any moment. You're not limited to a specific type of ship either. If it fits, it sits. Okay, I like that. So it doesn't always have to be Drake that we can park in here. That will be completely down to what role you want your ship to fulfill, I imagine. And it might be tricky to fit certain ships in, but I like the idea of the flexibility that the Kraken offers. Dragonfly Bays. The rear of the ship houses a vast cargo hold and a bay designed as a one-stop shop for dragonflies or other small vehicles. You can configure the hangar in a number of different ways. After all, this is your ship. Well, not yet, it's not, but it will be. I love this image, okay? I like the idea of having dragonflies. I think it would be super useful to have these. And there's actually a dude riding one in this image. That's how big this is. This particular bay for the dragonflies is. There's a hatch that opens that you can drop down the dragonflies and retrieve them, I believe. There's also some sort of automated crane which will pick up the dragonflies and automatically orientate them within that bay. So that would be very useful. So let's talk about some of the uses that we could use the dragonflies for. Now, we know this ship can land planet side, which is going to be awesome for sort of planet expeditions, exploring. The dragonflies were actually quite useful as scouting, send your scouts out. I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe transferring and transporting basic medical supplies, ammo, whatever it might be. I do like that idea. I imagine we'll get quite a few dragonflies in here. We got 3 in the image, but I think we could probably stow about 6 or 7. That would be my guess, at least. So that is something that is really cool as well, to have that ability to have all these dragonflies along with the fighters and 2 medium ships. I think is absolutely superb. Not a bad thing to have at all. So here we have a crew of 10, which is surprising with all the turrets. We'll come on to the weaponry a bit later on. 3792 SCU, 270 meters in length, so that is a whopping ship. 64 meters of height and 104 meters of width. The Kraken is a protector and beacon of freedom in a too often cruel universe. For those tasked with safekeeping citizens unable to protect themselves, the Kraken is both a sanctuary and a self-contained war machine, ready to take on the most daunting adversaries. We'll see what happens when one of these bumps into an Idris, okay? It's also a literal titan of industry, the ideal base of operations for a fleet of data running heralds or mobile warehouse to load up trusty Cutlass. They love pushing the Cutlass, right? Everybody loves a Cutlass. Whatever your business, the Kraken is functional, comfortable and secure base of operations. I wouldn't necessarily say that this ship is comfortable, okay? This is an image of the privateer module that you can add to this ship. So you can upgrade it to the privateer. I think it's a separate add-on that you have to pay for to swap out modules with this ship, which is cool. I wouldn't say that this is going to be a comfortable ship. So from the images that we get, I would argue that it's going to be very reminiscent of the Drake Caterpillar. That sort of interior is the vibe I'm getting from the images that we have at our disposal at the moment. So comfortable is a strong word. I would say adequate. Okay, now let's talk about the components. The Kraken is going to be equipped with 4 capital class fuel intakes, 2 capital class fuel tanks, power plants and shield generators, as well as the coolers. It has 1 capital class QT drive, a jump drive, and a capital class fuel tank for the quantum drive. It also has a large radar and 6 medium computers, and it can only take civilian equipment, components, sorry. So no military components will be able to be fitted to this ship. So it is quite beefy in the components. It needs to be, especially with the shield. So all good stuff. And here we have an image. This is what I'm strongly getting, a Caterpillar vibe from this, and it's very dark. There's no windows. It's going to be very dingy, very tight, very industrial sort of bare minimum, which we expect from Drake, right? So to say that it's going to be comfortable, I think is the wrong word to use for this. I think it will be adequate. I think it will be functional is the word for me, not comfortable. After all, it's a Drake ship. Okay, so I do like the look of it though. Fairly wide corridors. I like the yellow accent around the ship. We'll see how it pans out, but comfortable, probably not. Functional, absolutely. And here we have an image of, I think, the top half of the double stacked bridge, and I love the look of this. This is probably going to be the most fantastic view on the entire ship. It looks incredible. It gives the pilot and the captain and all the crew in the bridge that sensation of power, you know, kind of like a modern day carrier when you see the captain looking out and seeing all these F-18s taking off from the flight deck. It's going to be a really cool place to sit. I would love to sit here at some point in my Star Citizen career, because wow, look at it, fantastic stuff. It is surprising with a max crew of 10 how that would work. I mean, I think there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 or 6 seats here, and there's quite a few turrets on this ship, so I don't think all 6 crew members are going to be in the bridge at the same time, unless you hire help. I don't even want to think about hiring NPCs for this. I would like to actually have a human crew in here operating this ship with my buddies in their various ships, doing what they do, causing trouble, whatever it might be, whatever we decide to do. I don't think I would like an NPC crew here. Not saying it's not possible, of course it's possible, but I think to maximise this ship and really have a good time with it, I would like an all-human crew with actual brains. So that's my sort of feeling about it. But I love this view as well, because it does give a sense of authority and power that you're not going to get anywhere else on the ship. This is definitely one of the best views on the ship, in my opinion. Love the massive MFDs, etc. So yeah, will be extremely cool to find somewhere to sit on this ship. Okay, let's now take a look at the image depicting our cargo area, which is massive. You can see straight away this sort of crane with a entrance bay at the bottom, which will make lifting cargo in and out fairly effective. Again, it is split into 4 individual components that, when combined, give us that gargantuan SCU space of cargo room. Very practical, I think this ship is going to be when it comes to the cargo bays. I can't see there being any sort of issues or dramas loading cargo to and from the ship. Maybe even receiving cargo flight to flight could be an option there with that little crane arm above the cargo bay door. A lot you can do. I think you'll be able to do with that cargo space, absolutely. And here we have an image of, I'm assuming, where the computers and things like that are going to be. Not quite sure where this is. So we know it's got 1 large radar and 6 medium computers, which will lend itself nicely to the data running aspect of the Kraken. I really do like that idea of having several heralds on board, and the Kraken, distributing and selling that information or whatever it might be regarding the data. We'll see how that game loop pans out. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to add another dimension to the game, which is awesome. As I've said previously in other videos, I think the more we get, the better it becomes. So let's talk about some of the weaponry that this ship has. So it has 5-man turrets. One of those is equipped with 2 size 8s. The other 4 with 2 size 6 guns. And then we have 4 remote turrets with 2 size 4 guns. Now, I don't believe this ship comes stock with any missiles or missile launchers. That might change. I would like to see some sort of point missile defense. I think that would be really cool. And no sort of additional utility items either. So yeah, substantially well armed. It is going to be more than capable of defending itself, especially with the capital sized shields. I think a wing of bombers will be needed to take on a Kraken, in my opinion. A few retaliators, a couple of eclipses, and anything else that can fire torpedoes. A Polaris could be a threat to this ship with the 28 size 10s, but it's still going to take quite a lot to get through the shields of this ship. Now, Drake ships tend to have weak hulls, but I think the Kraken will be more than capable of defending itself with those large shields. I really do. I think it'll be a very tough nut to crack. Again, we'll see what will happen if it runs into another capital ship. What happens if it runs into another Kraken? Kraken on Kraken violence could be interesting. The Idris with its ridiculously large railgun would also be interesting to see how this all pans out. Now, let's talk about landing planet side, what we can do with that. So we know we have the Dragonfly Bay, which is going to be useful. It can land planet side. It's got multiple landing gears to support all that weight. I imagine, again, in atmosphere, this thing's going to be horrific to handle. Finding a landing spot is going to be quite difficult. It's a very large ship. I, however, would like to think that this ship is definitely going to be at its most vulnerable while it's planet side, because I'm thinking a couple of A2 bombers with a couple of Moabs are going to cause some serious problems if you get spotted down planet side with this ship. So for me, I would like to keep this ship in space as much as possible. Also, the shields for this ship do not cover the external aircraft parked on the landing pads. They only cover and will protect the ships that are located in the hangar. So that is something to consider. Pilots landing on this ship will have to leave the engines off but the power on so that their shields stay on. There's no escape pods either for this vessel. It sort of relies on the ships that it has. My issue with that is, if you're in a position where you need to use your escape pods, then there's a strong possibility that the ships you are carrying are very much broken and or blown up. So that could pose a problem in terms of crew safety. I do think that would be an issue, and quite a worrying one at that. But there's a huge amount of potential that we can do with this ship. I can see the Kraken out protecting Orions while they're mining, maybe a couple of reclaimers, basic, if you're in an org, just patrolling the territory that's yours. In the future, when we get the colony building, having one of these above you in orbit is certainly going to be an excellent deterrent. All kinds of things we're going to do with this. Now, when in terms of going through jump points and exploring the verse, it's limited not by its technology, but more sort of the ships that are flying alongside it if they're not on it. Because of its excellent quantum drive, it's going to leave ships behind in your fleet. You're going to have to wait for them to catch up. You can only go as fast as your slowest ship. So a lot to think about. Then we have to think about battle damage. If you take damage, how you're going to repair that damage, But it opens up so many scenarios, in my mind at least, what I would like to do with it. Although planet expedition could be risky, I imagine it'd be quite fruitful as well, with the amount of ships. Being able to interchange those ships for different vessels like prospectors, etc., could be really cool as well. So, tons of potential, especially with the privateer add-on, which adds a whole new sort of dimension to the ship. It becomes kind of merchantman-like with the privateer aspect of the ship, with the two public, private market and a public market. Again, completely different game loop thrown into a ship. So the possibilities are endless. Basically, whatever you can dream up, you can pretty much do in the Kraken, and I am very much looking forward to having this absolute beast in my fleet one day. Yeah, there's it's cool. I think everyone agrees that this ship is cool. Is it better than the Idris? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that they both have their strengths and weaknesses, like most things do. Ideally, having one of each in the fleet would be perfect. Perfect. Nice little pairing there, working in tandem. I can see that working a treat. So, who knows? One day maybe I'll have both in my fleet and I'll be happy as Larry. So, to summarise, my thoughts on this ship, definitely epic. A lot of potential with it. A lot of game loops to be exploited. It's a pretty pricey ship with around $1,400, I believe. Yeah, it's a beast. I think it's highly anticipated, and when it arrives, a lot of people that own one are going to be very happy. So this is going to wrap up this video, guys. But before I do, I always want to hear from you guys. What do you think of the Kraken? How would you use it? How do you intend to man it? Do you own one? Are you in an org? Are you going to make this your primary flagship of your org, or are you more tilted towards the Idris? All fascinating questions. I always read the comments, guys, so feel free. And we'll see what sort of discussions we can get in the comments section, because I do read them all, or try to at least. And yeah, looking forward to your questions and comments. Hopefully I haven't missed anything out. There's a lot of information to sift through. And a lot of editing required to get this video up, and I did a lot of trimming. Like I said, originally this video was like 40 minutes long, so hopefully you've enjoyed today's video, guys. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I of course will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location very soon. Take care. Cheers.